Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be showing you how to install Flask in your virtual environment. This is going to be a series where you'll be learning about applications that you can perform using Flask, or you can say learning Flask with applications. So this will be the name of the whole series. Here I will upload a lot more videos, but first I thought that I should show you, in case you don't know, how to install virtual environment and how to install Flask in that virtual environment. So let's first see what is virtual environment. We will understand it by example, but first let me give you an idea. Virtual environment is an isolated environment where you can have a Python version working for you, which is different from your main system's Python version. And inside this environment, you can install any kind of libraries with any version, and it will not affect the main system's library versions, which is simply the conflict management, or which we usually see when we work on the main system every time, because we always see dependencies which depend on different versions, and for one library it depends on a version of other library, whereas there is another library which depends on the same library but of different version. So let's see with an example, and let's understand how virtual environment help in this whole dependency management. So let's say you have two projects in your computer. Let's name them as P1 and P2. P1 needs A version 1.0 and B version 2.0. And there is another project P2 which needs C version 1.0 and B version 3.0. So you can see both these projects need B, but they need different versions of B. But now, if you try to implement these projects on your main system, what will happen? You will see conflicts because same version of B is needed, different versions of B is needed in different projects. So no matter what kind of version you install for B, it will either way affect the other project or break that project eventually. So virtual environment helps you isolate the project environment so that it does not change the main libraries installed in the system, and you can choose any version you want that supports the project. You can create a virtual environment for P1 and install A of version 1.0 and B version 2.0, and you can make another virtual environment for P2 and install the C version 1.0 and B version 3.0. Here you can see we are installing the B version 2.0 and B version 3.0 in separate environments, and they both are isolated. So obviously they are not going to affect each other. So virtual environments makes dependencies management much easier, and it helps you in avoiding conflicts between library versions. Now that you understand what is virtual environment, let's see how you can set up your own virtual environment and install Flask in it. So first of all, I will open a folder here. Because I am making a series of Python where we will be learning Flask, I will be inside the Python version, Python folder, and here I will be installing the whole in my virtual environment. To do that, first you need to open PowerShell. Remember that it is PowerShell, okay? It is not command prompt. So first you press shift right click, then you can see that PowerShell option is there. So you just open the PowerShell. I will maximize it, and what you write from here, the part is important. You can write with me if you want. First you need to write Python, but make sure that you have Python pre-installed in your whole system, okay? It is very much important, otherwise nothing will work whatever I am following, okay? So if you are facing any difficulty in installing Python, you can let me know in the comment. I will try to make another short video where I will discuss about how to install Python in your own system. So if you have already installed Python, then don't need to worry. Right now I will start writing the whole command. First I write Python, then write this, okay? It makes sure that I am doing it for the current user. Then I write venv. This is very important because venv is the most important part which helps Python to install the virtual environment in the current library, which is open right now. So after writing venv, you press or write the name of your virtual environment. Usually the names for your virtual environment are either env or venv or .env or .venv. You can choose anything you want. It does not matter what kind of name you're giving. Usually it is like a convention that people use env or venv. So I am currently using env, and after that you just press enter and it will automatically install the virtual environment for you. It will take a little bit of time. We will wait for that much of time and you will see that it is installed. When it is installed, it will ask us for the next statement or command. As you can see, now the environment is installed, virtual environment is installed. If you want to be sure of it, you can open the folder where I was previously in and you can see a new folder called env. If you open this env folder, then you will see some other folders which are necessary for Python version. All right, now that the virtual environment is installed, what you need to do, you first need to use Python environment. This virtual environment should be used, or this should be the base library or base Python to make sure that you are working on your virtual environment. Right now, by the way, you are not in your virtual environment, you are right now in your main environment. If you install any library, it will be installed on the main system. So to install any library in your virtual environment, you need to go into the virtual environment. To do that, you first need to write your virtual environment folder name, whatever name you used. Then you can just press tab, it will automatically auto detect it and make sure that it is a path. Then you will write scripts. Again, if you press tab, it will automatically auto complete it for you. Then you can read activate. Okay, so the activate file is the file that, I'm sorry for that, the activate file is the file which will make sure that whenever you run that file, it will open the virtual environment for you. Now if I press enter, then you can see a new sign env. This sign, if you see this sign, then it means you are inside your virtual environment. Now if you install any library, it will be installed only in your virtual environment. So for installing pip or Flask, I will write pip install Flask. For those of you who are already familiar with Python a lot, you will know what this syntax is doing. But for those who don't know, it simply is installing Flask. Flask is the library name. Install is the statement which is telling the pip to install the uh, written library. So after I press enter, it will start installing Flask in the virtual environment. As you can see, the installation is complete and it is successful. If you look at this part, it's successfully installed. So if now you want to check whether it is working or not, you can just say Flask version and it will, you can see that it is giving you some version of Python, Flask and another library which comes along with Flask. So this is how you can install the Flask library inside your virtual environment. So let's summarize the whole video. In the whole video, what I talked about, I just first explained what is virtual environment, and then I told you about the example where we properly understood how virtual environment helps you managing dependencies. Then we looked into virtual environment setup. Then we looked into the installation of Flask inside the virtual environment. So that's it for the video. If you think that this video was helpful to you, please press the like button. And also, if you want to ask something, you can feel free to ask anything in the comment section. And if you think that this video can help your other friends or someone you know, then please share it with them. It will help me a lot to progress in this whole series. Thank you so much and have a nice day ahead.